Hello everyone, welcome to the POAP Community Call number 29. Today is July the 27th, 2022, and we're all excited for you to be here today. We got a lot in store for you. My name is Mr. Mojo of the POAP Report, here with all of my friends. First, I'd like to say hello to Superphiz from Eastacre. Hello.
Hello, glad to be here.
We also have Logic Beach back up here, who is, I guess he works with Grid Plus, and he's the head of a lot of stuff that he loves to create. Hello.
Hello.
We also have Nixorokish from POAP. Great to have you up as always.
What up?
We have JENetics, who leads ultrasound merch and is part of POAPathon. Not really able to speak last I knew, but hello up here regardless.
Hello.
We also have Raz, and he is from Guild.xyz. He is our special guest today. How are you doing?
Hi everyone, doing great.
Amazing. And of course, we also have a few other people up here. We have Frankie and iDecentralized from the POAP team. We also have Dr. Malachi, who found his way up here.
Glad to be back.
But all right, everybody. So, as we were sort of hinting to a little bit, I guess, in what you would call a pre-show, we are going to be doing something a little different with our POAP distribution this week. And Logic Beach, do you want to go ahead and give a little teaser of what it is? Not exactly give it away, but just a small little teaser.
Sure. So instead of the normal DGen bot, which we have been using for some time now, we are going to be using the Guild bot from Guild.xyz, who we have our special guest Raz from that team. I don't know if you want me to go into how the distribution is going to work just yet. Maybe we wanted to talk to that.
Yes, we will talk about it in the community spotlight later, but yes, we are going to be using Guild.xyz this week in order to see how it works and how we can make it better and what we can do with it in the future. But okay, so let's go ahead and dive into what we want to talk about today. So ECC had happened last week, and it was in Paris, and there was a whole bunch of stuff that had went on. And we have people in this panel right now who were there. And Nixorokish, you were going to champion this. You got to go and do your thing with POAP, and you got to have a great time. So please, I want to hear what you have to say about your time there. And I believe, Raz, you were there as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Raz also was there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't get to see Raz while I was there, but it was a lot of fun. It was my first actual big in-person Web3 conference, and there was such a spectrum of people. I'm used to the people who how do I say shit posting without cursing?
Whoa.
I'm used to the people who are just like on forums all day long, posting memes and dumb stuff, and that's my community. And there is a whole range from that to all the way to a very corporate level of crypto, which I had never encountered before. It was great to see that spectrum. It was great to be able to talk to people about POAP and POAPs. I definitely offered my POAP to a lot of people who were like, "Oh wow, you have your own personal POAP? How do you do that?" And I was like, "Well, let me show you." Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
The venue was very hot in every terms. So we had to come out and go in constantly, but the talks were really, really good. And actually the big venue, like the main stage it had AC, so we usually just hanged out in the main stage.
Yeah, not gonna lie, most of the people that I saw on the main stage most of the day were there because of the AC, like taking a break in there.
Exactly, yeah.
Guiltily looking up every few minutes and being like, "Oh yeah, I am here for this talk."
So, what venue was it at?
It was the Maison de Mutualité. My French is really poor. It was a pretty good venue. It was I think it's the venue that they have it at every year, but I will say that it wasn't quite optimized for the way that the conference works, which is there are all these talks and the rooms are perfect for talks. However, 90% of the time people are actually in the common areas between the rooms, mostly just socializing. and at the booths, and those spaces are meant for traversing, like traveling, and so they're not big enough for what actually happens. They did have one room that was set up for like sort of a lounge area where you could sit and talk, but they didn't plan that out well because it was 105 degrees outside, and in that lounge room it was like 99 degrees. So people were not hanging out in there.
Did you guys go to the catacombs? This was ECC, correct? Just last week?
Yeah, so there was this article online that said that a bunch of people from ECC went down to the catacombs, and I didn't go. I don't know anything about that party, but I did look at the article, and there were a few photos with it, and I was looking at the photos, and I was like, I am like 90% certain that those photos are from that Dolly AI like image generator.
Huh.
So I don't know if that's a thing that actually happened or somebody talked to a reporter to generate hype.
Yeah.
It
And
really
also the beauty of
We've reached this place in the world, in reality, where now anything that we think might have happened can just be created with Dolly, and everything's done. Like
Yeah.
it becomes reality.
I can't wait to have access to Dolly, y'all. Like, I'm on the wait list.
Oh, there's one that you can use, Jen. It's like Dolly 2. Like Google it. There's one that you can use that's like pretty good.
I've been messing around in a couple different ones, because there are some like AI artists that it blows your mind. But if you just, if you don't think it's art, go try to produce an image with any of these, and it's so hard. And most of the time, what you get is just le crap. So, I'm super impressed with the ability of people being able to communicate to a computer effectively enough to generate these images. But it's pretty stunning. There's a artist called Jeff Jag on Twitter, and he does salad heads, fiat heads, and one other things where he makes human heads out of different random things. And salad heads are so creepy, and I love it.
Is that anything like salad fingers?
Jen,
Probably.
please share a photo of salad head in the community chat. I think everyone would appreciate it.
100%. I was like Googling it to do it.
Man, I definitely feel like I missed out. So it's definitely an event that I would have wanted to go to, but going all the way to Paris, not really in the bags for me at the moment. But it sounds like y'all were having a pretty good time. Do you want to tell me about the POAP booth that y'all had? What were y'all doing there?
Sure. Well, that's easy. There was no POAP booth.
Oh, there was no POAP booth. Oh, I apologize.
No, that's okay. But we did. So we basically just walked around. We have a lot of projects that we want to integrate with POAP, and so we walked around talking to folks who wanted to integrate with us or who maybe didn't know about POAP. So we let them know about it, and then we hosted an event on Wednesday that was supposed to be like community conversations, and so we had like areas where there were subjects that were the topic of discussion, but it ended up just being like everybody was drinking. There was a happy hour. They did whatever they wanted. It was great. We had a lot of fun, and it was on a Paris rooftop where we could see the whole city. So it was beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was co-hosted with Gnosis Chain, Gnosis Safe, and DXDAO. So we had a lot of good people there. There was a lot of swag that was given away. Gnosis Chain did not was not stingy with their swag. They gave away sweatshirts.
Ooh,
yeah,
bad timing.
very high quality.
Yeah,
merch.
definitely bad timing.
But that's great. So you were going around trying to get people integrated in the POAP. What's one of the ones that you would say like, yes, we got them?
Oh, good question. Well, we're going through this week and going through like everybody that we had met, because I noticed that our best day was at that event because we were co-hosting it. People would walk up to us and be like, "What is this? How do I get into this?" And I'd be like, "Just talk to me." But I was really stoked. We I mean, we haven't launched it yet, but we are talking to Aave right now about integrating, so I'm excited about that one.
That sounds pretty cool. But Raz, so you were also there too. I want to hear a little bit about what you were doing over there.
I think the beauty of HCC every year is that the best parties are so secretive and so hard to get in. Those are usually the parties where you don't get invited. And this happens to me every single year. Like the last year, there was like a Polo M rooftop party, fully exclusive with all the founders. I didn't get invited, of course. And this time, this Catacomb party, I didn't even know this exists. But yeah, the rest of the parties were really good too. And I really enjoyed that rooftop actually. With all the DAO folks, and yeah, the merch was really great. And one funny thing that I found next to the venue, my friends from Tempus Finance, they rented out the entire coffee, like the coffee place next to the ECC main venue, and they were offering the Vitalik cocktail, which is actually like 85% green tea and 15% red wine, which I found really funny.
Did you try it?
No, I don't really drink alcohol, but I thought it's really funny.
Yeah, I actually think my favorite event the whole time was just an impromptu picnic that the Ethereum.org people put together. So it was just like Ethereum Foundation people, Ethereum.org, and some POAP and Get POAP people. We just like sat in the park and brought our own food, and I think that was my favorite event of the whole time.
I think I was there, but I didn't know who organized it.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Everybody brought way too much food, so we ended up walking around trying to find people on the street to give it away to after that.
Yeah, but by the way, I came with my team. We brought a lot of merch. We have this new obsession that we basically became a Lego manufacturer.
You were the Lego guys.
Yeah, we are the Lego guys. We love Lego, and we have a partnership with a Hungarian company which refurbish Legos, and we design these like very special Guild Lego editions for every single conference we go, and then we produce a couple of 100 packs and then just go and distribute them to the good folks.
Raz, it turns out we did meet because at the end we were trying to figure out who the Legos belonged to, and you came up and you were like, "If nobody's going to take those."
Oh yeah, but now I remember you from the DAO event too. So yeah, we eventually we met.
Isn't it great how these
I have a
just bring
young
people
friend
together?
who loves Legos, so just keep me in mind.
You should definitely send some Legos to Fizz.
Yeah, I think we still have from the Paris edition and even from the New York edition too. So I will bring them next time and just distribute retrospectively.
Yes.
I absolutely love this this big sign for the Vitalik cocktail. I guess that's what he was drinking during his talk. That's what he had in his cup, and he just held it for like half of his talk, just like switching it back and forth in his hands and like emoting with his hands.
I did not realize that was what he was drinking. That's amazing.
I'm just speculating. I have no idea what it actually is, but it would make a lot of sense.
Vitalik has talked about drinking green tea and red wine together online before, and I was horrified when I read that because I was like, two things that I can barely stand mixed together. Oh my god.
Yeah, exactly. I can't. Yeah, I would not be able to drink that.
But he accepted one of our Legos after his talk. Our business developer guy basically like secured one Lego for Vitalik, which I was very proud of.
Awesome.
Huge Lego business.
So we actually are going to take a moment to talk about him really quick. And Superphiz, I think you're the one who really wanted to throw out the information on this. So as we were kind of talking about, Vitalik, he did have a bit of a long talk. I guess it was about an hour long or so that he had at ECC this year. And he was talking about the next steps in the merge. And there's a pretty cool moment in there that's relating to what we do around here. But I'm going to go ahead and let you take it away.
Yeah, and I'll confess, I listened once, and it was while I was running, but Vitalik has been aware of, he calls it POAP. I'm going to correct his pronunciation and call it POAP because he challenged my pronunciation of epic and made me say epoch. At any rate, so he did talk about POAP for probably 5 minutes, and it was really great to hear him kind of recognize the position of POAP to be a fundamental part of decentralized society, of decentralized identity. And so, like, I think for people on the inside, for people who collect, like, we get it. We know, we're obsessed. Like, there are 1,721 accounts listening right now. I don't really know how many of those people are real, but I do know that it represents enough interest to get that many accounts into a Discord. And so, like, people who already collect, we already get it. But for Vitalik to use such an influential stage to put POAP at the forefront at ECC is just, it's a great testament to the value of POAP in the ecosystem. And I don't know, that's I just find that really exciting. Because anybody who's in Web3, like, you probably know there are tens of thousands of projects. Everyone, like, my DMs on Twitter are filled every day with, like, people, hey, can I show you my project? But it's kind of neat to be part of a project that is so highly regarded in all of Ethereum. So I just found that exciting. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on it.
Oh, I have plenty of thoughts on it. In fact, I actually featured it in the POAP report this past week, and I have that segment sort of, segmented out on YouTube. I went ahead and uploaded it today. And I actually want to sort of speak on what I spoke about in there. So basically, after his talk, a person he had came up and he said, what are your thoughts on how we need to integrate things like soulbound tokens and integrating things like decentralized identity? And so he had spoken about POAP in this and about how that could potentially be the thing that would allow it to happen. However, we also need to keep this in mind. So just because something is possible doesn't necessarily mean that is what is best. You need to allow the people who are the boots on the ground in that thing to say, okay, this is a use case that works great for us. We should try to do that, instead of somebody like Vitalik being the person who's saying, oh, well, POAP can be used for this, therefore they must use this. And it even sort of goes on to his sort of philosophy when it comes to the Ethereum protocol as well, because Vitalik, he is in a bit of that academic role. And the quote that he had said was basically, just the paraphrase, when it comes to who I trust with what to do with developing things, having some committee of Web3 academics make all the decisions isn't necessarily who he would rather trust. He'd rather go to someone like, say, a POAP to see what's best for POAP. And you see it with the Ethereum protocol. Like, sure, he can make a roadmap. Him and the other researchers can make a roadmap saying, okay, this is what's possible. But they're not the ones who are saying, hey, person who's creating this thing, you must do it this way in order for it to be actually part of our roadmap. They're more so saying, oh, okay, well, like, this can fit in here. You want to try and build that? Figure it out. Have fun.
Exactly. Like, people love to talk about DIDs and verifiable credentials recently in the last 6-9 months, but people still haven't realized that we actually have this. Like, your wallet could be considered your identity, and POAP is basically social data. It's credentials on chain, and it works great. And I think the secret of POAP, because why it works so great, is the curation. Like, it's not full of spams. It's very, like, it's difficult to game the system. Instead, like, all the POAPs I have can be considered like somewhat valuable, because like, all of those are actual memories and like actual people I met or like events that I attended. So I'm not getting POAPs from just all kind of random projects on the internet. And this curation is actually more important than people think.
I agree. I think that having a curation body to field POAPs is it sort of creates like this interesting middle ground between permissioned and permissionless in crypto world, where it's the right amount of a light touch to keep a thing as valuable as it can be.
Yeah, one of the things that I think about when it comes to even just society in general is how fragile things can be. And something like POAP, at least at the moment, with all the systems that we have in place, the creation body are the people who are able to say, all right, this is what is going to be appropriate. And the issuer guidelines really help people sort of figure it out. And even going on the discourse, it can help you figure out some best practices and things like that so that your time can be easier when going through the process. But having real life humans sit there, use their brains, being able to do what people are able to do that computers can't, at the moment has been the best solution for POAP in order to make sure that there's integrity within this protocol. And so yeah, I'm really glad that Vitalik is also able to sort of see that.
One thought I have is that marketers usually, unfortunately, ruin a lot of things. But I mean, there's a lot you can learn by people's POAP wallet of the events they attend, the things that they collect. That a savvy marketer could figure out how to sell or actually help solve problems for people based on their wallets. I mean, it's so much micro data if you know how to read it and know how to tell who they are from it, which is just maybe an untapped thought I have.
Say the line, Superphiz.
POAPs make you more of who you are?
Yes, that's the one. Your POAP gallery is a representation of who you are. And it's a really good point that you bring up, Malachi, because you can look at somebody's POAP gallery and kind of get an idea of who they are. And so having POAP be a basis for something like decentralized identity is a good shout by Vitalik. However, he's not saying this is how POAP needs to do it. And it's good that he's able to have that mindset. And he's able to like share that with us and really get us thinking about that too. But all right, guys, is there anything else that we want to say about this before we move on? All right, doesn't seem like it. All right, so it looks like we have some time for this. So this last week, POAP Inc., they had announced a pretty big partnership. So there is this QR company. You may have heard of them. They are called Flowcode. They allow for highly scalable POAP distribution using their QR codes. And I really don't know what to say about this. I actually did make a video about that too on the POAP Report YouTube channel if you would like to look at that. But we do have some people from POAP
I'm
up
happy
here.
to hop in here.
Yeah, please.
Yeah.
I would
helped-
love to hear about this.
I helped
From the inside.
lead the press a little bit on it. And so first off, amazing job to our business development team and enterprise service team. They put this together, which is really just going to kind of help revolutionize the way the POAP experience is felt from like real consumers on the ground. And so they tested out this partnership of sorts with Warner Music Group at the Red Rocks Amphitheater at a Kevin Gates concert, who's like a really cool artist. And the UX was really great, right? On screen, a QR code popped up. The QR code is very on brand for the concert or the artist or whoever the issuer is. Everyone can pop up their phone and scan it. And Flowcode specializes in essentially doing these really nice QR codes that have sort of better analytics and better tracking and essentially various things associated with it that really just streamline the experience for collectors, right? And then especially the issuers get some additional data points as well. The really good value here for the issuers and especially big brands and big communities who want to do this. And Sam, who is part of our business development team and helps lead project management as well, he has this great I don't know what you call it, a metaphor, but it's like comparable of sorts, where if you order something from Amazon, you get a box to your house and it says Amazon on the outside, and you open it up, and inside are your waffles, right? You love Amazon for providing you a service, but inside you still get your delicious waffles. Flowcode and POAP are kind of working together in the way that the QR code and the presentation is being helped led by Flowcode, which is the QR. And then when you actually scan it, you kind of then get put directly into the POAP experience. You get to claim your POAP or mint your POAP, and then you have that amazing feelings, as you're kind of minting your memory. And so, this is just another great partner who's going to help bring POAP to the masses. And yeah, I'm so glad our team was able to put this together, and this is something you should hear more about over time.
Yeah, it's such a great onboarding tool because people, they understand what they need to do with the QR code. I think pretty much all of us understand how QR works at this point. And we have been using them in the past, things like the Magic POAP QR dispenser and things like that, but that's been in beta for a while. There's a lot of polish that still needs to be put on there in order for it to be usable at a very, very, very large scale. And so a partnership with something like Flowcode, it really makes a lot of sense because this is a company that has technology that they've put on TV in the past. And so whenever you have something that is already ready for large at-scale events, it just makes sense for a partnership like this to happen. And I also believe that something else pretty big that happened too. So the WNBA, I think it's called the Commissioner's Cup. I believe that they used a Flowcode QR dispense in order to give out the POAP for that event, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so that was another big sort of drop or activation that was just recently did, and Raz actually had a great tweet about it, so I'd love him to comment. But our enterprise service team worked with the WNBA over the past month to create this exclusive POAP gift for the fans who were attending the Commissioner's Cup. This is a championship that happens kind of in the mid-season of the WNBA season. And, they're a great organization to work with, the WNBA. The drop was done well with our enterprise service team as support. And it's just something that, more and more people are getting to experience POAPs in these unique locations, whether it's in the middle of a WNBA game on the floor or whether it's in the hills of Denver at the Red Rocks Amphitheater. And it's exciting to see where POAP goes next.
I'm always amazed when I see a large group of people being onboarded to the Ethereum ecosystem, or like just Web3 in general, and even they don't know what they started building out their DI. They started building out their profile, and I think it's gonna be fun when they look back from like in 3-4 years, and they realize that they actually started using POAP and Ethereum back then.
Hey Raz, what's your Twitter? I thought I followed you, but I can't find it now.
I'm leading scientist. It's an insider joke, but without the G. So leading.
Got it.
I will
Thank you.
share it.
I got it. Or yeah, share it also.
Cool.
Yeah, you can go ahead. You can put your Twitter in the community calls channel if you want to, Raz. Perfectly fine with that. But yeah, I think it's really, really great that we're starting to see this happen, because I believe, really, ever since I even got into Web3 and into POAPs, that the talk and discussion about how are we able to get POAPs out to big events and things like that, how can we make this possible? And now here we are in July of 2022, we're able to actually get this out here. It's great. It's making me like really itching to figure out, like, okay, what events are gonna come in my area that have a POAP associated with it, now that we're starting to see the rollout into more real life and established events. But all right, really exciting stuff on that. So Raz, you are up here. You are representing Guild.xyz, and recently you were able to get POAPs integrated into that. And Superphiz, he is going to take over for his community spotlight. So very excited to hear what y'all have to say about this. So I guess just as a start off, do you want to go ahead and explain what Guild.xyz is, and then here you go, Superphiz, microphone for you.
Yeah, actually, I was hoping Logic Beach has been messing with it. I thought he might also kick in here because he's been running the bot today, so I'm most interested to hear
Well,
them getting.
Oh yes, please.
I will mention that what's the word for it? Well, the bot setup and the POAP setup is very streamlined. Like you can create a POAP within the Guild.xyz UI. Like they've made it very streamlined, and I think it's really gonna like be an amazing tool for a lot of Discord servers that want to use POAP for their events. Yeah, I don't really have a lot to say off the top of my head about it. I mean,
due to technical error, part of the call recording is missing, and I do apologize for that, but thanks for your understanding.
Actually came to the conclusion that we shouldn't really care about like just DAO specifically. We should just build community tools that actually work and like integrate the tools and the platforms together that communities prefer to use. And this idea gave the foundations of Guild. That basically Guild is also how you call a Discord server, for example, your community. And we wanted to create a community management tool that's fully off-chain, but have a very strong relationship with everything that's happening on chain, and not just from one direction, like whatever happens on chain that can be reflected off chain in your community platform, but also the other way. So whatever happens off chain, we should be able to reflect that on chain. So we created this circular flow, and basically Guild is a very simple tool that allows you to automatically assign roles to token and NFT holders. That was the core idea and like the MVP of Guild back then when we came up with it in September.
That feature really spoke to me. I thought about how cool is it that you can choose, like you can token gate specific rooms or channels in a Discord server based on the NFTs that someone may hold, or if they have more than one ETH, you can have like a whales room or something like that. I just thought that was pretty neat to. Like Discord doesn't have that functionality on its own, but being able to create something that sort of makes that happen anyways without even Discord having to do that on their own. I just thought that was really inventive and cool.
But we also realized that we should do this the other direction as well. Like, why don't we abstract away your community structure, your membership tiers away from Discord, so you can make your community portable and you can move with your community to any other platforms in the future. And basically that's what we do. Like we started abstracting away and defining your community structures inside Guild, which eventually will turn into a protocol, and that protocol will enable you to manage your community wherever you go online. Does that make sense, by the way?
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a very important forethought that you guys have, because I've heard, different people in crypto space talking about like, why are we using Discord? We should use something crypto native. And that's an interesting thing to be thinking about, very future focused. Being able to have your community be completely portable.
Yeah, we also have a stealth tool which enables to basically tokenize any existing roles in your Discord server. And then you can get the same exact structure that you had in Discord and then have the same thing on chain, which is, I think, super exciting. But we decided not to release that product just yet because it was too early. But actually this week we are launching with the multi-platform support, which will enable to, let's say you have this community and have this community structure in Discord, but you will be able to reflect it in other platforms too. And we're going to add support for Twitter, all the G Suite products, Steam, and GitHub as well. So these are very exciting times for us. And just a quick example, like what's going to be like possible with Guild after this. And you will be able to verify that you follow someone on Twitter, you bought a game, you also got an achievement in that game on Steam, but you also have this NFT, you have this POAP, and you can combine these with all sorts of different logics. And then the combination of these can grant you a role in Guild. So it can grant you grant you access through the Guild to any platforms integrated into Guild. And the catch here is that we have a very open SDK that enables you to integrate that specific structure into any platform, like even in your application or your mobile application, you can use that and create token gated and like exclusive experiences for your community. But sorry, Superphiz you wanted to say something and I interrupted you.
No, I actually really enjoyed your description of it. I got to do the walkthrough yesterday. Of course, I listened to the walkthrough, and I notoriously hocked a loogie during the walkthrough. But it was really impressive. Like, I've loved DGenBot, and in many ways felt committed to DGenBot. But seeing the new feature set of Guild, like, I'm just instantly sold. I know it's going to take off and be very well received.
Thank you.
I do want to mention that the short experience that I have had with it has been very fluid, but I've barely touched or barely scratched the surface of what's possible within Guild.xyz. I just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, my thesis was when we started building out Guild.xyz is that the biggest problem with the DAO space right now is that we don't have like user-friendly experiences. And I know this because I tried out literally all the different DAO frameworks, and it was even hard to get into some of these frameworks and then just figure out what is what and why is it important and how could I like even just reach out to other people and like figure it out. So yeah, that was very, very important for us to only build something that people can figure it out on their own and can use very easily. And that's why like we are building a lot of stuff, but we only release stuff that's actually useful and can be used very easily for even newcomers.
Yeah, and I also want to hop in here that I think it's a really cool feature that it's really cool that we're not only using it as a feature within the community call as a POAP distribution method, but I'm also interested in digging in a little deeper because now we're starting to get an interesting footprint of like I want to call it like some of the deeper POAP community members, like maybe people who have an early issuer POAP or people who've been to X amount of community calls. And now we kind of have our discourse forum and there might be a POAP footprint that's getting put there as well from people who are kind of engaging. And now using Guild to maybe token gate things inside of Discord or figure out ways to just create kind of a better community feel is something that's super interesting, and I'm excited to explore those with the kind of unique POAP footprints that we're putting out there in the wild too. I want to call it like a deeper part of our community than because everyone's part of the POAP community, but I feel like early issuers or people who've been to a lot of these community calls or people who are engaging in certain areas, I feel like they're sort of like a different breed of sorts.
Yeah, and also for Guild, it's very important for us. We talked about this with Superphiz before the call, that we eventually have to solve like anti-bot protection and eventually maybe like the cyber resistance too, because these are like all essentials for building a tool like this, for rewarding communities and like giving like, because basically when you give access to something based on a guild role or like any requirement in the guild, you're giving utility to that asset. And that could be like whenever you give something that could be exploited somehow. And also there's been a lot of hacks in Discord servers recently, and just security in general is a great concern in the Web3 space. Like people prefer building something that's decentralized over building something that's actually secure in this space, which I can complement because I love decentralization too. But then like we still have to focus on building something that's gonna last and that's not going to be hacked in the first couple of weeks or like and actually usable. So we focused more on like user experience and security and started prioritizing these over like the mainstream ideas of crypto and Web3. And yeah, speaking of spyware resistance, how we want to solve this, and POAP is a great part of this. Basically, we started aggregating these DID solutions, not just on-chain, because the on-chain data regarding your identity is still very poor. We have POAPs, which is great, but other than that, we only have just like proof of humanity, maybe. And there are a couple of projects that are promising some kind of on-chain human verification or even KYC in the future, but this is still limited. Other than that, obviously, we have the off-chain data sources, like the kind of decentralized off-chain data sources like Ceramic. We are also scraping some identity solutions from there. But on the other hand, like in Web2, most of these problems could be solved easily because the centralized platforms are like already doing a great job at like figuring out who is an actual user and who is a bot. So our solution is to essentially collecting and like joining all these data sources and then come up with like a human score or like some kind of evaluation of the user's identity like together.
Roz, I'm just curious. I wonder how do you feel about Bright ID or integrations with Bright ID and Guild, if any?
Yeah, so I'm personally not very familiar with Bright ID. I know it's a relatively new project, and I know I should look into it more, but yeah, it's on our radar. That's all I can tell for now.
Thanks.
One of the things I've liked, so the Gitcoin passport, that's been really useful
Yes.
for some people because now it's basically just a plug and play. The infrastructure is available for you to just plop into your project, and it gives you a good sense of, or I should even say that it's more so it's a great way to integrate things like a Bright ID or proof of humanity without actually having to like integrate Bright ID and proof of humanity, and it even allows users to verify their identification through things like their POAP collection or their GitHub account or their Facebook or their Twitter, things that you've been talking about that as you've said, their their verification processes and stuff like that, like they're already sort of fine-tuned because they're a centralizing force. Well, now we're kind of using what people are already using, bringing them together to help kickstart us in this space.
I wanted to chime in and just add a support for Bright ID, and I think that Guild.xyz and Bright ID, especially in terms of POAP, could be a match made in nirvana, because Bright ID in a nutshell is sort of a way to prove unique humanship, but without like details, right? You can prove that you're a unique human based on your social circles, and I don't know, I think it could be a really powerful tool to thwart farming for one. That's like, I've been thinking about this for a while, but never really had the technical background to put these two things together in code, like POAP and Bright ID. But maybe Guild.xyz could make that happen.
Yeah.
I would definitely look into it.
When we're talking about I call it poaching. Y'all know I call it poaching. And the proof of humanity, if you will. What we've been using is 10 consecutive minutes on call, but these calls are an hour long. So we have no idea to know if somebody just clicked on the call, walked away from their phone, and then after 10 minutes disconnected and went on to their next POAP claiming call. And one of the things we talked about on your roadmap for this new application is cumulative listening with a requirement of the amount of minutes set in order to claim versus the 10 consecutive.
Yeah, exactly. That's going to be implemented. But what I'm also more excited about is that like using, generally speaking, any kind of requirements that Guild has and combining them and like give them as like the requirement for claiming a POAP. Because as we integrate all of these different social platforms you would be able to like create like really sophisticated structures for who is eligible for a POAP in that case.
Yeah, you can go ahead, Jen. Sorry.
Oh, well, someone asked if decentralization is at odds with mandatory authentication. And I think we need to define what mandatory authentication is. It's not like you guys will be collecting their email address and their phone number. It's basically to make sure that you're not just a computer program that's programmed to log into a Discord server at specific times, right?
Yes, correct. Like also like everything is optional on Guild. So even though we will have this identity solution, you don't have to like connect your like you will be able to connect your email address, for example, specifically, because it could be useful if you want to prove that you have an email address from Y Combinator or like from Harvard. So these could be important aspects of the Guild product, but it's totally not necessary for all cases.
All right, so one of the things that I actually wanted to ask, so one of the things that you are able to do with these guild POAPs is you're able to put them behind a monetization gate. What is the idea behind that?
Actually, it came from Patricio, so we are still figuring it out, and we got very excited about this idea because it could open up like a new horizon for POAP. And I think the main use cases could be like charity and some kind of like micropayment that holds back some people that maybe like it makes it a little bit more like financially inviable to abuse like a POAP thing, like a POAP drop, for example. But these are just my ideas. I think we should ask Patricio.
Yeah, I also want to. Oh wow, what a legend!
Oh, Patricio's here.
Whoa,
Okay.
and he's summoned.
Hello guys, how you doing?
Hello, Patricia.
Hello.
Hey.
Good day.
I'm sorry I don't have headphones, so the audio quality is not gonna be the best. But do you hear me well?
Yep, just
It's
fine.
better than
Yeah.
Vitalik any day.
Crystal.
Well, that's a pretty low bar.
Nice.
So I have a headache, and I'm not gonna be here much longer. I'm gonna say something pretty controversial that some won't like, but it has to be said. I have personally been subsidizing POAP since we started in 2018. I have literally spent millions of dollars. Then POAP got VC funding, and we've been using our investors' capital so POAPs could be free. And somehow some people feel that they are entitled to get the POAP as if it's something a right they have been born with. They can't understand that POAPs cost money. Those of you that are entitled, those of you that believe that POAPs are gonna be free forever, I'm sorry, you guys, you are up for a rude awakening. It's highly likely that in not too long, all POAPs are paid for, either by the collectors when they mint or by the issuers when they set them up. If you are not paying for a product, someone else is, or you are the product. How is this going to unfold in practice? We don't know. Having high quality tools like Guild for making that possible is gonna help us find out how. We aren't too worried about the value proposition of POAP being diminished. More so, we believe that when POAPs are precious collectibles that people have paid for or understand that someone else has paid for, they will only become more precious, more sought after, more valuable, more soulbound. So we are excited. We want this, as I said, to have more functionality. where is this functionality going to be implemented? It's a technical challenge. Right now, having Guild doing this payment method, it's an acceptable solution. Maybe someday some fees have to be embedded at the smart contract level. We don't know. Hopefully this answers many of these questions that some of you had, like why do we want this? What's our goal with this? Our goal with this is POAP to be a self-sustainable system that doesn't need external capital for existing. Is this clear?
Well, yeah, I totally agree that it just even makes the POAPs more valuable. That's a very good point. And I'm actually thrilled that we can contribute to this journey, even though this is just the very early exploratory phase of how could POAPs could become how could we bring them to the next level?
Yeah, and something else we are excited about is it's not a use case that I personally loved. It's not what I wanted POAP to be, because my goal when I started building POAP was to create an ecosystem for the preservation of memories. But having this monetization tooling, apparently it's a really exciting way for creators and community owners and community producers to have sustainable means of funding their activities. So if you are an influencer now, by using POAP, you can create these collectibles and maybe even eventually get royalty fees and those kind of things. And as I said, I don't particularly love all those things, but so many POAP community members have asked for them so many times that now we may be getting closer to that.
Yeah,
I went on a really weird journey. Go ahead, Ross.
Sorry, go. The good news is that it's live today. So if you're an influencer, you can start using it today.
More sophisticated distribution methods were asked. The influencers seem to love royalties, which currently we don't support. But give us some time. Having Guild ready, it's a significant step on that direction. Once we see what the market reactions are, it's gonna be easier to prioritize doing something or something else. Sorry, Superphiz, you were saying something, right?
Yeah, I was just saying, early in this whole journey, I really pushed you and encouraged you, let's charge for them to reduce spammers. And it wasn't the right time for that. And then I had this change of mind that that charging wasn't really a good idea. And it's funny, in the past few weeks, I've really swung back the other way, and I just see so much potential value for, like you said, for the issuers to pay or for the recipients to pay. It makes so much sense to me now, and it's weird because it took me so long, a meandering path to kind of get to the realization that having the opportunity and the ability to include a price with minting really does bring value rather than extract value. It took me a while to get there. I imagine it may take some other people a while to reach the same conclusion, or maybe they won't, and that's okay too.
Yeah.
Nobody has these things figured out, and what we are doing has almost no precedent. It's not that we can see how these problems or challenges were solved in the past. So we better remain flexible on our thinking. We have to allow ourselves to change our minds, and we have to be conscious on other people's feedback and keep chugging.
I can imagine this being a really good signaling tool to find out who a organization or a community's true members are versus just rampant farming.
Well, the funny thing is, I think it has created a bit of an addiction now to where people who might not have been willing to pay for them 6 months ago now have a collection started, and they're probably more willing to put money on the table for them. And the perfect example of that is this Toblerone drop this week.
I was just gonna ask you to mention that because it's a
Yeah.
perfect comparable.
I bought
Yes,
one.
it is. Toblerone UK is issuing a POAP for people who buy their chocolate bar, and I put money on the table not for the chocolate bar, but to get the POAP, and that's really a very analogous description to like Toblerone as a brand is important enough to me that I'm willing to put money on the table to get that POAP. And I really think that's kind of the thing we're seeing here.
Do you want to know what's funny?
Poblerone?
Do you want to know what's funny about that, Fizz? I had spoken about that drop on the POAP report, and I had said how that I was not willing to buy this candy bar in order to get the POAP because I don't identify with them enough in order to do that.
Yeah, well, it makes you more of who you are, and
Yep.
I like Toblerone chocolate, and to me to have that in my collection of memories is valuable to me, and so Anthony knows. I decentralized knows. I went through a bunch of hoops to do my best to ensure that I can get one of those, because my POAP collection is who I am, and Toblerone also is a part of that. So I thought it was pretty funny.
We are pretty disappointed with the Toblerone drop, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I had
The
also said
drop
that too.
may
I
be
said I
low
was
quality,
disappointed.
but the idea is awesome.
Yeah, during my
But
reporting, I said
you know why we are disappointed, right? They aren't doing this the way it should have been done.
What did they do?
The community wants to know.
Nobody knows. If someone knows, just say it.
Well,
Was it
so
in the chocolate bar?
let me suggest that the ideal scenario is that it would be similar to what we would know from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, where they would mint codes on a sheet of paper and include them in the candy bar wrapping, so that you essentially open up the candy bar and with that is a claim code, or maybe printed on the inside of the box. I don't know, but physically included with the candy bar. And I don't think that's the way that it unfolded.
That's what
Correct.
I was expecting, and I was so excited. And so when I saw the QR that they were using, the magic dispenser, I was, in the way they were using it, it was like my heart really went to the floor, unfortunately.
Superphiz, you mentioned that this as POAPs make you who more of who you want to be. I have never tried Toblerone before, but I am a fan of chocolate, so it made me somebody I didn't know I was yet if I like it.
Yeah,
Well, if you're a
It also
fan of
convinces me to try
chocolate,
new things. Say it again. I'm sorry.
if you're a fan of chocolate, you better don't try it because it's not an outstanding chocolate. It's pretty mediocre.
It
I
gets
like
the-
mediocre chocolate too.
I think it was good like maybe 60 years ago, and now it's just a brand.
Well, it's for me. It is. It's the nostalgia that the flavor brings back. It's not that it's.
Yes.
It is. It's a fair quality chocolate for what you might get in a grocery store in the States, but it's the nostalgia that it brings back that makes it meaningful to me. And I really think there's a fair chance that Toblerone will recognize the marketing value that they get from this and maybe iterate on it and maybe have more success in the future. At least I hope that, because I do enjoy it.
I think when we were talking about the issue with the drop being handled incorrectly, and this goes back to when I was talking about how Apple has account managers for larger corporations, or the big players, and these people are dedicated reps that act as an intermediate between the customer, which is usually a large corporation or a brand, and Mac, and it protects both the customer's rights as well as the Mac's or Apple's rights and vision and focus and mission, all of those things. So that's why I think having dedicated POAP handlers that essentially, for these larger communities that are doing these larger drops, they have someone that they can do either one-on-ones with, and if it be a regular thing, can be assigned, and through a quick message, we can put our heads together and come out with the best deployment versus a company having to kind of feel this out on their own.
Yeah, I think that the discussion on how we're going to monetize or how POAPs could be monetized in the future in terms of how POAP Inc. could take advantage of it or how someone like an influencer could take advantage of it is going to have to be a discussion that we're going to continue on another time. But it's 7:01 for me, so we're going 1 minute past. We do have a POAP to give out, and we are using Guild.xyz, and it's a little bit different than how we've normally been doing it. So Logic Beach, now is the time for you to explain how we're going to do that.
I'm going to hijack my spot for about 10 seconds to just say that if an event host covered the cost of a monetized POAP drop, they would be very careful about how it was distributed. So they would take extra time to make sure that their event's POAP was not farmed. I just think that that's an interesting idea because I saw some people in the chat talking about, what about for people that can't pay for a POAP? And as somebody that's done POAP drops, I've always, I pride myself on being pretty careful and making sure that they're not just like outright farmed. So if I'm paying for it, I'm going to be absolutely sure that they're not being farmed. And yeah, I just thought that was an interesting viewpoint as well. Okay, so yeah, tonight's community call POAP drop is going to be different than it has been before. We are now using Guild.xyz's POAP drop bot in the community calls channel rather in this server. I am right now going to send an embed and actually sign a message with my wallet while I unlock my wallet. Give me probably 8 seconds. I should, I should have known that. See, this isn't sort of an experiment. This is the first time that I have set up this bot and am now approving this message to send the embed to. There you go. Okay.
Hey, there we are.
Mild success. So this POAP is claimed by clicking on contribute for POAP. And what is required here is 0.001 ETH on mainnet, which is $1.50 right now.
Real quick, the UI is showing the two different ones. So if Raz is still here, we now have an interesting predicament on our hands.
I can't even delete that.
Yeah. So
what's wrong? I'm already claiming mine. What's the problem?
Unless anybody saw that,
maybe it's because I'm an admin. So
maybe you're
let
right.
me stop talking and we can circle on this after. Continue. I apologize.
Yeah, I saw what you were talking about too, and maybe it is because I'm an admin, and I'm curious about other people. Did they see the message under that? Did anyone?
I can see I clicked on the contribute for POAP, and then I got the message. I clicked on the claim POAP community call, and now I paid for my POAP, and I actually got my link. So I'm claiming mine right now.
Wonderful. So just the UI of admins is different than normal users, and we like this. So my apologies.
Okay, yeah, it was kind of concerning. If you saw what I saw, I was like, oh, there's all the links. I think that was just.
Yeah, so I think one thing that I kind of want to say is that I believe currently Guild.xyz, it's not able to track listeners at the moment, right?
No.
Right. So this experiment right now, we are putting the payment on there just as a way to help resist spam and things like that. And it's going to a multi-sig that we are controlling, and those funds are going to be used for improving things like this community call and stuff like that in the future. So don't worry, we're not just trying to take your money and run or anything. There really is, a purpose for this. But yes, the POAP for this week, you are going to spend that 0.001 ETH and then the gas on mainnet. We are looking to switch it over to a different network next time. We just wanted to make sure that people had the highest opportunity to get this, because most people pretty much have ETH on mainnet, and so we figured that would be the best way to go about it this time around.
This is an interesting experiment. I was sort of excited to see how this how this POAP distribution goes down. And I would probably do this for my own stuff, like this. And like you mentioned, Mr. Mojo, these funds go into a multi-sig for POAP Treasury, or Community Call Treasury, rather.
Yeah, and I want to highlight really what Patricio said because it stuck with me, like, I mean, really powerfully for all the listeners. So many of us are used to a Web 2 world where we are explicitly the product. And so we are being taken advantage of, and we live in this fantasy world where we think everything is free and all these social media sites are so good and so great, and oh my gosh, my Gmail email is so good and so free, and it's because we're being treated as a product and they're selling our data and doing all these things on the back end. Whereas with POAP, it has actually been not, it's been actually giving you a lot of value for free. And the ones who've been actually covering that cost is Patricio and then POAP Inc., right? Depending on the timelines.
Guys, sorry, a possible problem for this claim could be that the message, people are messaging in that channel, and the claiming button is going up and up, and people click the button, but the message appears on the bottom. So basically, they click it up at the button, but then they don't see the link. So maybe you should send it to another channel which people don't have right access.
So they that issue.
This message. Can I do that? Yeah, I can pin the message from the Guild bot, and it's now at the top of the pinned messages, so you can get it there. Sorry, I should have done that. And this is an experiment, like we said. We're learning every step of the way, so from now on, we'll probably just go ahead and have those pinned.
Awesome.
And then we can push it to general if we need, or something like that as well. So I think no matter where we push it to, Roz, through the Guild UI, it should still all be funneling to the same POAP claim UI that's owned by Guild, correct?
Yes.
Cool.
Over here looking at this POAP gallery and seeing that James Carnley is screaming ahead with 622 POAPs. I'm going to have to see what that guy's been up to.
That's good to hear that name. I met him in Denver.
He is a swell guy.
Yes,
it looks like
been to a lot of events. He's not a bot.
Oh yeah, 12 claims so far. And it looks like people who we know as like hardcore POAP enthusiasts.
Yes.
Exactly. Feels like it's pretty anti-bot already.
Yeah,
Most
so
definitely.
as for now, I'm going to go ahead and say that this is going to be the end of the official part of the POAP Community Call. I guess we could stick around a little bit, talk about how this distribution is going, but as for the YouTube recording, if there's anything that you missed, something that you want to look at again, you can go to the official POAP YouTube channel in order to look at any content that comes from us. But for us this week, that is going to be all. Thank you so much, everybody, for showing up. Again, you can go into the pinned chats here in the community calls and see if the Guild distribution is going to be something that you can get used to, I guess, right? I feel like that we're going to be using this a lot more. And I'm excited to see what kind of integrations can be put in there to make this even better next time. But all right,
Thanks,
everyone.
Mojo.
Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks everyone for
Thank
tuning
you,
in.
everyone.